Welcome to this episode of Resetting Your Compass in search of the Northern Lights. We're going to spend 2 weeks searching for the Northern Lights. That is cruising from Southampton all the way up the Norwegian coast, right up to Tromsø, and then back again. Fingers crossed, we'll get to see the Northern Lights. Well, we're on the ship now. This is the Lido deck. We're just waiting on our luggage to be taken to our cabins. And then we can crack on and have a quick look around the ship. The ship is huge. It's about 1,300 people on board. It's got loads of bars, restaurants. This is the pool area. It really is quite a nice ship. We've had a quick look around. Really, really nice place. But obviously, we're here in search of the Northern Lights rather than the ship. This area of the ship is a huge clock. It's over 2 or 3 floors. It's a massive, great thing. It's impressive, personally. Seems a little odd for the space. But as I say, we're here for the Northern Lights, so we're going to have a good look around at where else we do on this cruise and not necessarily the sea days, which is what obviously when you're on the ship. Lots of other things on the ship. There's lots of little sculptures all over the place. It really is quite a nice place, I'll be honest with you, but let me see in 12 days' time how I feel about that. So we've arrived in Stavanger, which is on the southwestern coast of Norway. Beautiful place. It's Norway's 4th largest city. Very, very big in the oil industry, and strangely enough has a link with Houston over in the US because of its link with oil. And that's where the big mural comes in for Stavanger and Houston. It really is a beautiful place. We have a look at this is the harbour. Really, really crisp, really, really tidy. No litter, really friendly. Really, really nice place to go, to be honest with you. We had a good look around the harbour, and lots of little cafes around, lots of colourful buildings. As you can see here, we're starting to walk into the town now, and you get lots and lots of these little tiny streets where it's very, very close, but it's really quaint to walk around. Cobble streets, all the shops you can imagine there. If you're a big shopper, then Stavanger's a really nice place to go as well. It has all your major shops, but it has lots and lots of local outlets, which is really, really important. Walking further down, you'll notice that there's a lot of coloured buildings. You can see there's a yellow building in the middle of the whites, but this gets even more as you start walking down these back areas of Stavanger. And as you can see there, they also have graffiti like every other town in the world. But they also have lots and lots of murals in Stavanger as well. And you'll see this a little bit later. But we'll have a good walk around the city here. We were here for about, give or take, 3 or 4 hours in Stavanger. We got a decent amount of time there. It gave us enough time to have a really in-depth look at the culture of Stavanger. As you can see there, every place has got its big old stores like Intersport, lots of those things as well. But what you will see is you'll come across these beautiful buildings like this. They're really, really colourful, and there's a little street not a million miles from the centre. You have to hunt around to find it, and we're going to walk up here now. And every building's a beautiful green, pink, red, you name it. Everything is, and even the bike bits where the bikes go there is there as well. It really is a beautiful town. So if you get a chance to go to Stavanger, make sure you get off the ship or off the plane, or whichever one it is you're going into, and go and search for this really, really colourful street. Personally, I'd love to have seen this in the evening. You can see the lights above it. It would have been a spectacular place to actually go to. But it's really nice now walking up here and having a really good look around at what is here. Most of these are bars, so you can imagine this in the evening with the lights. It would be an absolute awesome place to chill out. One thing it is noticeable about Stavanger is how quiet it is. It's absolutely beautiful. The people are really, really friendly. And you'll also note a lot of street art. On the left there, you can just see some street art. They've really embraced this. Rather than just saying graffiti, they've gone with really good street art. We're going to move on because this is basically, we've been in the town now for a few hours, and this early evening we're going to go and see some of the fjords around here. We're going to get a little boat and go up the fjords to see it a bit more, because on the big Balletti that we're on, the big huge ship, we don't really get to see the smaller fjords, so that's what we're going to be doing next. But this is just a few examples of the street art around Stavanger. We're just progressing now up one of the local fjords. We've got a little tiny boat, and it's absolutely gorgeous. You can see the water there. It's pristine. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you look down, it's very dark, very peat-based, I think it is. It's very, very black water, very, very clear, and also it's still as anything. The fjords here are quite low down. We're quite close to town still, but some people have got some gorgeous property here, as you can see. It really is a fantastic place. Very cold, though. It's about Wind chill factor, I'm guessing we're down to about -3, -4, maybe even colder than that. The actual temperature is just above freezing. It's about 3 or 4 degrees. But with the wind, it is really, really cold. The fjords now are starting to get a little bit bigger. You can see they come right down to the water. They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But as you can see, it's absolutely pristine, the reflection on the water there. This is just one of the fjords just outside Stavanger. If you ever go there, you can jump on a simple boat, on the boat trips, and go up this fjord. It's very famous for a rock that we didn't see, actually. It's a rock that is in between two cliffs. We never saw it. They did say it, but many, many people on the ship never even actually saw it. But that was irrelevant. You could go up here. There was a cave. There is a beautiful waterfall up here as well. It's absolutely amazing. It's a huge, great thing, as you can see there. It's cascading down. Very, very impressive waterfall. And you can, with the ships, because they're a tiny little ship you go on, you get very close, you get absolutely soaked, but it is absolutely amazing. Sadly, the picture doesn't do it justice of how big that waterfall was. It really is amazing. As we finish getting soaked by the waterfall, we then cruise back down the fjord, and you can see lots of other little waterfalls, but it's just the amazing sort of scenery that you sort of, yeah, it's beautiful. You've got to go there just to appreciate the scenery. Welcome to Alta. Well, there's not a vast amount in Alta. The only thing you really have is, as you can see in the picture there, is the cathedral. I'll be absolutely honest with you, we got off the bus, it's about, I don't know, more than 10, 15 minutes on the bus. It's about an hour's walk, but we couldn't really see how to walk there because it wasn't obvious, so we got the bus in. We got to the town, straight off the town, into a shopping mall. You can go to shopping malls anywhere. There's no point in going to a shopping mall if you're on a lovely cruise to the Northern Lights. Anyway, what we did find in Alta was these ice sculptures. They, because obviously getting towards the Arctic Circle now, so it's very, very cold, and they've got these ice sculptures. They've got these huge, great blocks of ice that they carve out and make all these sculptures. So these were quite impressive, to be honest, worth a look. And the actual cathedral itself was an impressive piece of architecture with this round structure. But other than that, I'm afraid to say there is nothing else in Alta. Worth getting off the ship, having a quick look at the ice sculptures, having a quick look at the cathedral. But other than that, I really wouldn't bother. If you go to Norway, I'd wait around and see the other ones. As I say, these are these huge red ice blocks you see, and they're just in the main square, and they do lots with them. Anyway, we're now back on the bus to get back to the ship. You'll see a lot of it is industrial. A lot of Norway is, some of these towns are like this, where they've got big industrial outlets. Obviously, they're big into oil and things like that. But there's the good old Balletti. Big old ship, as you can see. Lots and lots of snow. Really, really nice. But yeah, that was Alta. Would I go back to Alta? I'm afraid I would not go back to Alta. But that said, some of the scenery around it is pretty impressive. So it's later on in the evening in Alta, and we just got some lovely shots of the sunset there. What we're actually going to do now is we're going to get ready to go on an excursion into the mountains. We're going to go to an old mine, and fingers crossed, if everything goes well, we're going to get to see the Northern Lights. As you can see, it's already pretty dark. We're just getting ourselves ready. We'll have a quick look around the top of the ship there. So we've got off the ship and we've gone up to Paskatrun on one of the excursions. It's a lovely place. It's an old mine in the middle of nowhere, so it's very, very dark, and the idea being is, fingers crossed, we'll get to see the Northern Lights. They have lots of fires like these around, and they have tents, etc. It's a very historical and interesting place, to be honest with you. Sadly, we're now chilling out in front of the fire, which is really nice in itself. We're on reindeer skins. We're sitting on reindeer skins, really, really nice. But sadly, the Northern Lights aren't playing ball because the clouds are in the way. I'm sure the Northern Lights are there, but sadly, we can't see them. So anyway, can't complain. Great excursion. If you get to do it, pop out and do the Northern Lights at Paskatrun. Well, we cruised overnight and we're now arriving in Tromsø. This is well worth doing, to be honest. You get up early as you arrive in Tromsø. The large ships like the one we're on can cruise up this fjord, and it's absolutely amazing. As you can see there, the water's flat as a pancake. It's absolutely gorgeous. Crisp though, -4, -5, maybe even less than that. But with no wind, actually, it's pretty reasonable. We did see a few dolphins. Sadly, I didn't have the camera with me. Really annoying, but there were a few dolphins bouncing up over the waves there. But we're now sort of going up the fjord, heading up toward Tromsø in the morning. We can see the sunrise, and as you can see, it is so picturesque. There's hardly anything around, even though there's loads and loads of people on deck with us. As you can see, there's loads of space to see this. So of the cruise so far, I'll be honest, this is probably the best sort of morning we've had in being able to see the scenery. You can see the mountains there in the distance. This is all around you. You can't really take in exactly what's happening here. It is absolutely beautiful. Tromsø is obviously a massive city up in the north of Norway. We did pass the Arctic Circle last night. Fred also leave a little what do you call it, certificate on your pillow saying you have crossed the Arctic Circle. It's very good of them, but it's just a nice little something. A sunrise is starting to happen now, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Look at that for a sunrise. Wow. Well worth getting up for. As I say, if you're doing the Northern Lights cruise with any of the cruise liners, make sure you get up early enough to see the sunrise as you approach Tromsø, because this is absolutely fabulous. It may be one of the best sunrises I've personally ever seen. As you can see, though, the water's still very, very still. Crisp, nice. I'm just going to leave you for a second just to enjoy this without me speaking. Well, we're coming into Tromsø itself now, so we'll start having a look around. There's lots of things to do in Tromsø. Literally, you can go dog sledding, skidooing, you can go up the cable car, see the cathedral. There's stacks of stuff to do in Tromsø. Probably the best of the cities on the Northern Lights cruise. Well, this is Tromsø Harbour. Tromsø is lovely, right up in the north of Norway there. Absolutely gorgeous place, very pristine, very friendly. We got the bus into town from the cruise ship, and now we're walking around the whole harbour, walking all the way around over the lovely bridge, right over to the cable car. We're going to do the cable car, the cathedral. We're going to do loads of stuff. There are stacks of stuff to do in Tromsø. There really is. As you see there's the cathedral in the far side, and there's the bridge at the back there with a man on a boat. We're presently now standing in the queue to get on the cable car. It's a bit like skiing, to be honest with you. A lot more expensive though, £56 for two people to go up a cable car. I'll be honest with you. It's worth it. At the top, it's amazing, but everything in Norway is a little bit more expensive than most other places that you'd normally go to. So what we do here, we are on the cable car. We are shooting up here, obviously at super fast speed. A couple of people were actually walking up the middle there in their snowshoes, which was quite impressive to see. And they actually saw them at the top. Once we got out at the top and walked all around, we actually saw them there. We're now coming right into where the restaurant is and the big station, and it really is awesome. As you can see here, beautiful views at the top. You can carry on walking up if you wish. I wish I'd known, because I've taken my crampons and done that as well. We're now looking down over Tromsø. That's Tromsø Island. It's a little island in the middle there, and Tromsø is also on the mainland, which is where we presently are. You see the bridge there connecting it. It seems really busy, but to be honest with you, Tromsø is reasonable size, but it's not as big as you think. And just around the corner, there is a ski resort for all those skiers out there. If you want to go to Tromsø, you can go skiing here as well. But it is a beautiful place. If you get the chance to go, this is one place in Norway, I would say, yep, make sure you get there. Lots of stuff to do as well, lots of stuff in the evenings, lots of stuff during the day. You can go dog sledding, skidooing, you name it, you can do it. We're just having a quick look in the evening before we set off out of the town. We're having a quick look to see what it's like, and it's absolutely gorgeous in the evening as well. We're setting off this evening, but we have, as you can see above, clear skies. So fingers crossed, we might get to see the Northern Lights tonight from Tromsø. If all goes well, fingers crossed, this will happen. We're just cruising out the harbour now, and we're off on our way back down. We're going to go down to a place called Bodø, all being well. But we've heard through the grapevine the weather is actually turning pretty grotty, so we'll have to see how that all pans out. But we're heading towards a place called Bodø. But prior to that, fingers crossed, this evening we will get to see the Northern Lights, which is what we came to see in the first place. Let me explain a little bit about the Northern Lights. Basically, the sun has huge sun flares that come off the surface of the sun, and they can be millions of miles across, absolutely enormous things. They send ions out through space. Now, the gravitational field of the Earth stops a lot of those ions hitting the Earth itself. However, some get through. And in certain areas, like north up near the Arctic Circle and south near the southern Antarctica, these ions actually get through the atmosphere, and this is what you can see when they hit our atmosphere. This green and red is what you see when you see the Northern Lights. So that's what we're trying to see. It also needs to be dark to see the northern lights, and obviously a cruise is very good for this because you're away from the city lights. So did we see the northern lights? Yay, we got to see the northern lights. As you can see from these photos, they look pretty spectacular, don't they? And they were spectacular. The only minor problem is on camera and on video, they look phenomenal. As everyone who's been searching the northern lights knows this. However, in reality, what you really see is a grey streak across the sky, which is what we saw. A very dark grey streak, and you could see a big bit at the end, which was going up and down. But to the naked eye, that's what the northern lights we could see. However, when you took the photos, as you can see there, you can see a lot more of the green lights. So we can officially say we saw the northern lights in Tromsø. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. What an awesome night seeing the northern lights there. I'm glad we did because we have now sailed overnight and the next morning we are now in a force 9 gale. It is blowing a hoolie. The waves are up to around 7 meters high. The ship is absolutely rocking to next week. It is unbelievable. It does mean, however, we're not going to be able to get into Bodo, which is where we were meant to go because it is so rough. The ship can't get into the port there. But also the captain is now wondering what to do to try and get around or get into some sort of calm water away from this force 9 gale because we are about 9 to 10 decks up here from the observatory lounge, which is where I'm taking the video. So you can imagine how many 9 stories high physically is. And I'll be honest, we hit a wave just a few moments ago, which has made me get the camera out, to be honest. We hit the wave and the wave came right up over that window. So the wave itself would have hit the side of the ship. Massive, great bang, wonder what on earth it was. Drinks all over the floor, you name it. But the actual water itself came right up over the observation deck. Warmth, so that was 9 to 10 stories high. Unbelievable. You can also see here the snow is actually coming up from the sea. It actually is coming down, but then it's been blown back up again. So it's snowing. It's a force 9 gale. It is unbelievable. It does mean we're not going to Bodo, as I say. However, we are going to Aalesund, and we're going to try and find some a little bit of respite from this storm, probably closer into shore. But at the moment, pretty awesome. I've just gone to the back of the ship. Let's listen to this. See this force 9 gale. We are sitting at force 9 gale. As you can hear, the winds are blowing a coolie, really are. Seriously, stand outside here, it's freezing cold, blowing a hoolie, amazing. Well, after a day and an evening of being bashed around by force 9 gales, we've finally made it to Aalesund. We had to give up with Bodo purely because of the sheer weather. I've never been on a boat like that before. Apart from a little ferry back from France once. Anyway, we have got to Aalesund, and Aalesund is an awesomely beautiful place. Of all the places we've gone to, including Tromsø, this is probably the most beautiful little city I've seen so far in Norway. We're just on the harbour here, and as you can see, we've still got lots of snow around. The buildings are picturesque. It's very much an Art Nouveau town, but there's actually quite a bit to do here as well, so you really got a chance and want to come down here. We're presently on the dock, and you can see across the harbour there. But you've also got the viewpoint on both sides of the island. You've got lots of stuff to do, like for example, sea kayaking, dog sledding, all those sort of things as well. But you wouldn't go far wrong if I was yourself. If you're coming to Norway, to pop into Aalesund. Personally, I went for a really good walk around the city. My wife came with me as well, but she also did the Art Nouveau Museum. Not my cup of tea. But from the pictures here, you can start to see the Art Nouveau architecture, which is all over the city. So you can have a good look around and make sure when you do, you look up. Otherwise, you'll miss all this. One of the highlights of Aalesund is to climb up the steps that take you all the way up to the viewing point. It's really, really quite an interesting walk, to be honest with you. There's about 400 steps, I think, give or take. So it's quite a way up. And as you can see from here, we're about halfway up, give or take, to the viewing point. But if you get the chance, when you get to Aalesund, walk up these steps. You can, if you need to, take a coach. But if you can, seriously, go slow and walk up the steps. Because one, you get a great view. but also you've got the snow and the ice. I'd highly recommend a set of those, just not what they call the tiny little crampons that fit on your boots. You can get them for a cheap price at most outdoor shops, especially in Norway as well. Clip them to your boots and off you go. So we're climbing right the way up now. We're getting towards the top, as you can see there. That's the viewing point. That actually is a beautiful cafe as well inside. We were quite surprised because we got there and it was quite quiet inside. We thought it'd be expensive, it'd be busy. It wasn't. It was quiet and for Norway, pretty cheap as well. Whoa, and when we're in the cafe, we also catch a beautiful rainbow as well. What an awesome day. It really is. By the way, you can pass the cafe and go round the top. There's a little bit higher up if you want to. I recommend that. It takes that a little bit higher. You can see a little bit more as well. Presently, you're looking down at Aalesund. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. As I say, if you come to Norway, make sure you visit Aalesund. We came back down from the viewing point, and in front of you there is a tiny little lighthouse with no windows at all, but it's actually a honeymoon suite for one of the local hotels. I thought it was a bit strange because actually it's tiny. I've gone across there myself because Jane's gone onto the Art Nouveau Museum, which didn't really appeal to myself. But I'm now standing on the port. Absolutely beautiful. It's quite hard to get to this, by the way. You've really got to get through the back of the town. It's not easy to get to, but well worth it. As you can see, the snow's coming down. There's sun. There's no wind. It's pretty chilly, but it's absolutely beautiful. One of the best places I was standing, to be honest with you. Absolutely gorgeous. Anyway, from here, I then made my way across town to the other side of town, which was even quieter. There's no one over there, but I thought, hey, what the heck? Since I'm over this neck of the woods, it's worth a wander over. Really was, because I got to the other viewing point, and there is a second viewing point in Aalesund. People don't realise it, and I must have been the first there because in the snow, I was the only footprints that climbed up to the other viewpoint that day. And you see just a different view of the city. So if you get a chance, go over the other side as well and climb the other viewpoint. Because as you can see there, you get a gorgeous view of where people live and a different view of the city. We then got back onto the boat, and because the storms were coming in, it was really, really bad. The storm waves had now got up force 9 gales, but the actual sea had gone up to about 9 metres. So the captain decided he couldn't actually go through that. It was far too dangerous. We then decided, or the captain decided, to actually go down one of the other fjords for a day, because we had a day spare because we hadn't been to one of the towns. That meant we had a day spare. So we went down this lovely fjord, and as you can see in front of you there, gorgeous, gorgeous waterfall. It was a bit windy, as you can see from the video, but it's absolutely beautiful again. You have a lot of these fjords around Norway, obviously. Which ones you get to see is pot luck, and obviously on a bigger boat, don't really get to see the ones on a smaller boat. So personally, if you want to go and see the fjords, I'd go on a smaller boat than the big Balletti. But if you want to go see the Northern Lights, then Balletti's the one you want to go and see. But anyway, I hope that's been well. We then set sail after the storm had finished, and we set sail back down to Southampton. We spent 3 days at sea, which was a long old time. Not a great fan of staying at sea for that long. But we set off for 3 days at sea and arrived back down in Southampton. And did we get to see the Northern Lights? Yes, we did. Did we see many other spectacular things? Yes, we did. We saw many, many things, did many, many things. Absolutely amazing. Well, we're back after the 3 days finally at sea. We're back now. Got back in Southampton. Yes, day before yesterday. Really, really good. What can you do 3 days at sea? Well, there's actually a lot organised on cruises. Got lots of games going on. For example, you've got things like shuffleboard, indoor curling, golf, bago, you name it, all those things are happening. Lots of shows happening well, lots of music shows, lots of talks happening, lots of magic shows. On top of that, you've got lots of live music, you've got a lot of live music bands, you've got live music pianos. There's a chap called Paul Burton, awesome guy. If you get to see him, have a look for his YouTube channel. I'll put it in the comments below. Great guy. We saw him about 11:30 most evenings when his Raw show was on, when he did lots of comedy as well. Really, really good. Then you've got the gym and the jacuzzi. You've got obviously lots of bars, restaurants. You can eat pretty much 24 hours a day if you so wish. And the oddest thing, we had to try the supper club, which started at 11 o'clock at night. That was an interesting experience. Not one I'll do again, but an interesting experience. And on that note, oddly enough, in 2 weeks, I've managed to put on 3 kilograms in weight. It's absolutely ridiculous when you think about it. That is 1,600 calories a day excess calories. That means you have your normal stuff to keep you where you are, 1,600 a day. So yeah, quite excessive cruises. Um, what else? Really good friends. Met some awesome new friends. That's what cruising is really good for. If you want to meet some new people, it's a really simple way of getting to know some new people. Really, really nice people on there. And I can't fault Fred Olsen for their customer service. Their staff were amazing. To finish off, though, to conclude, would I go on another cruise? Honestly, I would not. And that sounds really strange, but to myself, you don't really see the country. So we haven't really seen Norway. The idea of the cruise was to see the Northern Lights, which is what we saw, and that's why we went on the cruise. If I wanted to go and see Norway, I would not do it via a cruise because you get on the boat, you spend a lot of time on the boat, you then get off the boat temporarily, say for example on an excursion or even just walking around town. You don't really get to know the country itself. You do a few little things here and there. So cruising isn't for myself and my wife, we'll be honest, but I'm glad we did it. We saw the Northern Lights and it was awesome. So if you're thinking about doing the Northern Lights cruise, I would recommend it. If you're an outdoorsy person, there's a lot to do, but you may go a little bit stir crazy because in essence, you are still in a cruising hotel. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this unusual resetting your compass video, but it showed that you have to have a couple of weeks off and go on holiday every now and again, even within this challenge. Next week, by the way, we have got a seriously busy week coming up. We really have, because we've got to get prepared for the polar expedition training, which is in Norway a week after next. So I've got 1 week at home, then I go back to Norway again, which we'll start talking about in the next video. Thanks for watching. Catch you all later.